Hey guys. All right. I'm going to add Nia. Hope you're all doing well and having a great Sunday.
Hey, salam
Hello.
alaikum.
Walaikum salam. How are you, Nia?
Awesome. It's so cool to see you again.
Yes. um, it's today's when we spoke yesterday was a really gloomy day. It was raining, but today it's nice and sunny.
Oh,
So
alhamdulillah.
yeah, and this is the first time I'm doing a kickback during the day. So it's a bit different for me seeing myself in light. But yeah,
Well,
I'm
I'm
so
glad to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
thank you for coming. I'm really excited to speak to you about a topic that's obviously, I guess, passionate for me, and I'm sure for you as well, which is, racism in the Muslim community. And that's something that's not always addressed or discussed within our spaces.
Yeah.
And given the work that you are doing personally in your career, I think it's really inspiring,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it's such a great avenue as well for Muslim women, Black Muslim women filmmakers to, I guess, engage in and showcase their skills and tell their stories.
Mm.
So yeah, I'm just really happy that we could make this work.
Thanks.
And yeah, I want to start, I guess, by maybe giving you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a bit more about your journey in films and how you started your career and what led you ultimately to creating this festival, the Black Muslim Girl Festival.
Awesome. Great. Um, well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you for everyone who sent their condolences and made dua for my family. This morning we had a death in the family, and I lost another uncle. And we had a conversation, you and I, about whether or not we should still do this. And I had said that it was very important for me to still do this because my Uncle Junie, that was his nickname, he would have wanted me to continue because this is not about me. This mission that I'm on is for my daughter and her daughters and their daughters, and all of the other women, Muslim women out there, Black Muslim women and their daughters and so forth. So it's bigger than me. Uh, and just to begin, um, I'm inspired by the OG BMG Fly, Black Muslim Girl Fly, my mom, who is my hero, my best friend. And she's the person who inspired me to do everything that I do. So I wouldn't be giving you like the origin story if I didn't start with her. And my storytelling expertise comes from being in the library with her as a little kid. And I shared the story with you that I think my earliest memory of reading a story is with her in the library. And I was probably 3 years old when I read my first story out loud. So yeah, shout out to moms.
We love our moms.
And, you know, it was there that I saw myself reflected in stories. You don't see a lot of Black Muslim girls in stories and books. And back then, I didn't see Black Muslim girls in stories and books either.
Yeah.
However, I was fortunate enough to have a mother who found stories by Black authors that depicted Black children in normal situations. And one of my favorite stories was about a kid named Everett Anderson. And the paintings in this storybook just moved me. And ever since I was a kid, I've always experienced storytelling through a visual kind of medium. So it wasn't just the words, it was also the paintings. And John Steptoe is a standout illustrator from my childhood. I could go on and list all of the books that my mother introduced me to, all of the authors that I still call back to, you know, and that's where it started. That relationship with storytelling started with me seeing little Black kids in stories that depicted them doing regular everyday things. And one of my favorite ones was the story about this kid who had to get used to a new little sister coming home. So, you know, that is what I want for Black Muslim girls in this current generation, for them to see themselves, a reflection of themselves in storytelling, whether it's film or television or books or magazines. And we have so many Black Muslim women out there on the front lines doing it. And I just want to just call out some names of those of us who are doing it. We've got Malika Creates. I don't know if you follow her on Instagram, but she's a Black Muslim woman filmmaker. I know several producers in Hollywood who are Black Muslim women. You all know Mara Akil. But there are so many of us who have not reached the level of a name basis. And that's what Black Muslim Girl Fly Film Festival is for, to give them that opportunity for the world to know their name and to see their work and to hear their stories, because that's how we get to know each other. And if we're not able to tell our own stories, then someone else will, and you know what
Yeah,
happens.
yeah, yeah. And so, you know, I think it's interesting you mentioned the book where that, like one of the earliest books you read about a young Black girl who's having to deal with a new sibling coming into the house. And
I want to say, though, it was a little Black boy.
oh boy,
I
okay,
need to call that to attention,
yeah,
because Black girls didn't get their own books back in
right,
1979, 1977.
yeah.
So just, yeah, make it clear.
Yeah, and I think yeah, like I remember just thinking back to my childhood, I remember reading books like The Little Red Riding Hood, or you know, and it's true, like there is a huge gap in that space where our stories are being told in a way that is culturally relevant to us, or even like you know, something that represents the way we look, the way we speak, the way
Mm-hmm.
we dress, the way we eat. And all of this is really important in those formation years.
Yes.
And so I guess in terms of your experience growing up in the Muslim community and being a Black Muslim woman, what are some of the things that have influenced the stories that you want to tell personally as a writer or director?
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because I did not realize how gifted I was with community as a
Mm-hmm.
child
Yeah,
until I became an adult. And as you can tell in the current times, having community is so difficult. And I grew up in Baltimore. I went to Sister Clara Muhammad School, and our masjid had tennis courts and basketball courts and a playground and a park. And I had a music teacher who, she was my hero. She was
mm-hmm.
amazing. And she was a Black Muslim woman who wore her scarf the same way I do, like my mom did when I was a kid.
Yeah,
And the things that I learned growing up in that community, looking after each other, and having those women as my heroes, that is what informs my storytelling.
mm-hmm. So can I just ask why why is the festival specific to Black Muslim women and not just Muslim women?
Well, let's talk about misogynoir. No, actually, I don't want to talk about misogynoir. Actually, I want to talk about something that calls attention to what's missing. When I
Mhm.
first started in the film and TV industry, when I first got to LA, I noticed that Black women are always missing. We're never really the star. We're never, that was back then. Now we've got different kinds of shows and films that are breaking barriers. And that hashtag that I started back then called missing black woman syndrome doesn't exist anymore. So we're everywhere now.
Right.
But Black Muslim women are not everywhere. And
Mm-hmm.
even when we are, it's not as authentic as it would be if you had some Black Muslim women in the writer's room. So, for example, Orange is the New Black is a show that I can remember that tried to have a Black Muslim woman
Mm-hmm.
character, and it just fell flat for me, and I stopped watching because I felt like this is ridiculous,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
And if we don't put ourselves on a pedestal, then we're not going to be noticed at all. And that's why it's for Black Muslim women, not just Muslim women. You can find tons of stories about Muslim women, but tell me a story that you know about, a film or a TV show, or even a book about a Black Muslim woman. Wait, I have one on my shelf. You might know this woman, Leah
Yeah.
Vernon, her
Yes.
story. Let's get a show about her.
Mm.
You know, that's why we
Yeah.
have Black Muslim girl fly and not
Yeah.
just Muslim women. It's for us.
Mm-hmm. And tell us a bit more about the name. Like, I think it's such a catchy name, the Black Muslim Girl
Thank you.
Fly Film Festival. How did you come up with that?
So I grew up in the 80s, and fly is just something we used to say.
Yeah. I still
Fresh,
use it, by the
dope.
way.
But you know what? After a while, it took on more than just an empowerment meaning, because at first I picked it because I felt like I needed to empower myself. I needed to empower
Mm-hmm.
other Black Muslim girls and tell them, yeah, you are fly. I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
But it took on more of a metaphorical meaning after a while for me, because
Right.
to me, it meant that we need to soar, not
Mm-hmm.
just be fly, not just be fresh, not just be cool,
Yeah.
but we need to set our sights high and get
Mm-hmm.
there. And
Yeah.
we can do it if we do it together. And
Mm-hmm.
if people hear our voices, because
Mm-hmm.
if we're quiet, like, what's the saying? I don't want to show my age, but I'll just use the squeaky wheel gets the grease, right? I was going to say something else, but I didn't want to show my age. The other day I was on a call with another Black Muslim woman, a filmmaker, and I said something, no thing but a chicken wing. And I realized, oh my God, that's old.
No, but I remember seeing the festival like when I submitted my film as well last year, which by the way was selected. Guys, go check it out. I think it should be somewhere
It's still
on
on
the
the
website.
website.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I remember seeing the name and I was like, oh my God, I want to fly right now. Like it's giving me those vibes. So I just love it. And I think it's such a beautiful way to capture the essence and just I guess what the festival's about.
Yes.
So and do you
Because,
want to tell us, yeah, sorry.
no, go ahead.
So who's part of your team and how do you guys run your festivals every year? Like what's the process? Tell us a bit more about that.
All right. So this is the exciting part where you get to find out that it's really hard.
Yeah.
It's so cool to have an idea, but it's even
Hmm.
cooler when you have people who support that idea. And so the first year that I
Yeah.
did it, I had some really cool women who said, yeah, that's an awesome idea, Nia, that you should, let's do it. And I want to give a shout out to Ayana. I hope she's watching. She was my partner in crime. If it wasn't for her, we wouldn't have been able to do the first year.
Yeah.
Produced by Kwan. You can follow her on Instagram.
Yeah.
She's another Black Muslim woman filmmaker. She helped out introduce Christina. She's on Instagram. Another Black woman in the industry who
Mhm.
helped out. So many Black women helped out and made it possible for it to happen. And I had no
Mhm.
clue what I was doing. And I still don't. This is the third year, and things are so crazy this year because of COVID. So
Yeah.
I think the third year is the charm, maybe. I've got a
Yes.
really great team of people. We just
Mm.
hired a new social media manager who came on board, another Black Muslim woman. I hope she's
Yeah.
watching. Shout out to Kalila. I hope you're on here. But if you don't have the right people on your team, you cannot get
Mhm.
anything done. And
Yeah.
so I have some amazing Black women on my team, and I haven't done the math, but most of them are Muslim.
Mhm.
And if it wasn't for the team, you wouldn't be able to see what we have. Like, we have the website up. Go to BMGFlyFest. .vhx.tv, and you can see all of the films, including yours.
Yes. Mhm.
And then on top of that, we've partnered up with Seed and Spark this year, which is a company that helps filmmakers partner with their audiences. Like, you have a direct connection to your audience. And
Mhm.
so through Seed and Spark, we are going to be 100% online this year instead of in person.
Yeah. Okay. And with regards to the festivals, obviously the requirements to submit is either you have to have the story has to be about a Black Muslim woman, or the creators have to be Black Muslim women.
So
What's the criteria?
the rules are that the story has to be about a Black Muslim person, or involve a Black Muslim person, or have
Okay.
one of the main characters is a Black Muslim person,
Yeah.
and or a Black Muslim woman has to be on the crew, someone who either wrote, directed, shot it, cinematography, even sound is just as important.
Yes.
A Black Muslim woman has to be involved in some capacity so
Mm-hmm.
that we know that the agency is coming from a Black Muslim woman.
Yeah. And with regards to your festival, and how it's sort of being received, or I guess what's the how is it in terms of how where does it sit in terms of just the overall Muslim community in LA or America? Do you want to tell us a bit about that?
Well, you know, we talked about this the other day, about part of the mission is not just creating the platform for Black Muslim women who are in film and television. That's part of the mission. The other part is to empower Black Muslim girls and women all over the world, to let everybody know we're capable of this. This is what we are doing. Here, take a look. But it's also, the mission also includes incorporating storytelling in connecting communities, because
Mm.
um, honestly, coming from my heart, my favorite ayah from Quran is where God tells us that we've been made into different nations and tribes so that we get to know one another. And
Mhm.
to me, if we don't share our stories, we won't know one another. You know, we can sit down and break bread, but if I didn't let you know how I was feeling today about the loss of my uncle, then you wouldn't really get to know who I am, except I'm just, you know, a Black Muslim girl sitting down eating food with you. But if I
Mhm.
share my story with you, I lost my uncle today. He was one of the few people in my life who could make me laugh. Um, I was always a pretty serious kid, but uh, I could always count on a joke from Uncle Junie. So um, that lets you know that I was a pretty serious kid, but I enjoyed a joke, and I have a tight connection to people in my family. So, you know, you get a glimpse of who I am just by sharing that one little teeny nugget of a story. I could tell you tons of stories about, you know, my friends when I was growing up, and then you get insight to who I am, what kind of person I am. And the same for you. Like, when I watched your film, I got insight into who you are and what kind of person you are. And that connects us. And if we don't share our stories and our experiences, we're just a bunch of people in silos all over the world, and we don't really know each other. So that's very important for me to
That's really
connect us.
interesting because obviously as a creative and as a storyteller, we rely on what we've lived, our lived experiences, or the experiences that we've kind of witnessed around us, and kind of channel all of those stories or emotions and energies into our work. But having said that, like, even when you came on before, I wasn't even sure if I should mention about your uncle's passing, because I know you told me, but I just thought maybe it's too personal, because like, it's interesting to kind of hear you say that, because even though I'm a storyteller, I feel like I'm still private about certain things in my life.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you kind of sharing and, giving me that perspective, because I guess I didn't think of it that way.
I'm
I think
glad.
that, yeah, I think I guess I have this view that you share your stories through your work, but I mean, you coming out and just saying it as it is, I think that's brave. And
That is what it is, and honest storytelling is what we need. I'm not a big fan of edited storytelling. I mean, of course you edit.
mm,
I mean,
yeah,
I don't need to know everything. We don't need to share everything.
yeah,
However, for you to be fully honest and fully vulnerable is what is required for you to connect. Um, there's so many really cool stories that you can watch, but how many of them really move you?
mm,
How many of them actually change the way you see yourself?
yeah,
For example, when I watch I May Destroy You, which is brilliant, it's amazing, but
yeah,
it wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Michaela Cole's bravery, her being
yeah,
honest, her
mm-hmm,
just laying the story out there just for you to see and experience for yourself, for you to come away from that changed, which you will. You
mm-hmm,
definitely will. And even stories that are science fiction, because
mm-hmm,
right now, I'm going to mention another Black helmed by a Black woman, Lovecraft
mm-hmm,
Country, which is amazing. It's storytelling, and it's so layered and it's so rich, but it's also very honest, because
yeah,
the experiences that the characters go through,
mm-hmm,
even though it's science fiction that's going on around them, they're really
mm-hmm,
experiencing some real life stuff that nobody wants to like talk about. And
yeah,
racism is evil, and it's
mm-hmm,
scary. And what better way to express that than through horror and science fiction, but also to show that real side. You get to know these characters and their vulnerability through these small scenes where they're sharing their feelings with each other. And you can pull one scene from that movie, or I mean, sorry, that TV show, and somebody out there in the world can say, oh my God, that happened to me. Or, oh, I
mm-hmm,
experienced something just like that.
mm-hmm, yeah. And how do you think, as creatives, we could balance, um, you know, yes, like this medium of storytelling is about that honesty and all of that, which is, I guess, the core of everything we do. But how can we balance that with what the industry demands of us if we want to get somewhere?
You know, I moved to Los Angeles in 2005, and here it is 2020, and only this year did I kind of realize, you know what, the kinds of stories that I tell
Mm-hmm.
are not for the Hollywood medium because of their raw honesty. Some of them are, some of them are. I shouldn't say that. Some of them are, but the one story that I'm really like been pushing since 2005, it's about the dark side of being a human being. And the main character is a Black Muslim woman
Mm-hmm.
who becomes a drug kingpin to take care of her daughter.
Wow.
That sounds really cool, right? But it's not. It's really not. In this film, she literally goes through so many things, and she
Mm-hmm.
chooses to become this villain, literally, because she does these horrible things. But it's a reflection of her experiences. It's a synthesis of things that she has experienced, that she's reacting to. And in society, as Black women, there are so many, I don't want to use the word tropes because then that will kind of negate some of it. There are so many experiences that are repeated no matter where you are in the world, if you are a Black woman. So,
Yeah.
and I'm going to bring up a controversial film that's going through it right now, Cuties on
Yeah.
Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
The experience that is depicted in this film of this young girl, she's going through something that I personally, as a Black Muslim girl, can relate to. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
French. I'm not Senegalese. You know, I've never been to Paris. I've never wanted to be a dancer on TV and gyrate and look, you know, but
Yeah.
I can still relate to that character's experience because
Mm-hmm.
of what's in the film, because of these moments that she experiences that are so true, that are so real, that mirror some of the experiences that I had at that
Mm-hmm.
age, at 11.
Yeah.
So that to
Yeah.
me is why we create these stories, is to make those connections, no
Yeah.
matter how ugly the story may be,
Mm-hmm.
because even God tells us that that's how we learn things, through their opposites, joy and pain,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
Yeah. And that's something I battle with as well, because there is a story that is not mine, but something that I read and found interesting, and kind of developed into a short film script. And it's a controversial thing, character, not in, I mean, yes, for a woman in general, but more specifically for a Muslim woman.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one film that I've kind of like, you know, I want to make, but there are times where I'm like, oh, should I actually do this? And in fact, I was meant to shoot this film earlier this year, but then with the lockdowns and stuff, we with and all the restrictions that came with that, we weren't able to. And so I've kind of like been sitting with this for the past couple of months, just going back and forth, and it's to do with the fact that if you look at this character from a human perspective,
Right.
it makes sense. But when you look at her from the prism of being a Muslim and how Muslims should be, and especially
Should.
should be, and especially given that you're in an environment where there's such few stories of Muslim women in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let alone Black Muslim women. And so when you get to make one film, it's kind of like, what should that be?
Yes. Yes. You know, the story that I mentioned earlier is called The Trap. um
Mhm.
I wrote it 15 years ago, and I got that feedback of, well, don't really want to show this. This is not what we want the world to know about us being Muslim. But wait a
Mhm.
minute, but this happens to us. You
Yeah.
know, the poverty and the crime in this story is real, not just for the character, but for people who I know back home in my hometown, you know? So don't shy away from telling a story just because shoulda, woulda, coulda. You know, we're all
Mhm.
human beings. And that's something that gets glossed over in some of the storytelling that people do, because you want to put your best foot forward. But then you neglect the balance that's needed to show that, you know, we're real people and we do
We're
experience
humans.
these
Yeah.
real feelings and we go through things just like everybody else. So
Mhm.
yeah, don't dehumanize me by trying to make it seem like I'm supposed to be perfect, because
Mhm.
no, that's not the way God intended for me to be. I'm
Mhm.
created to be imperfect, and here's
Mhm.
how, and here's how I handled it.
Yeah.
And you never know, you might relate to that.
Mhm. So where do you find the strength to kind of just stand up to what you believe in? I mean, even though like that's the right thing to do, and we, you know, we do that to the outside community, but when it comes to our
Mm,
community, sometimes it's hard to, you know, because you're trying to please them and you're trying to be a
right.
representative, or you know, like how do you balance that, and how do you get that strength to say no, like I believe in this and I don't care who you are, this is what I'm doing?
The easy answer is that you put Allah first. I'm not here to please people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not here to please people. I'm here to please my creator. And I, if I feel that I'm doing what I was created to do, I'm following my purpose, I'm inspired by my creator to do this, who are you to tell me that I can't?
Mm. But what if they tell you that this is not what Allah would want you to
Oh,
do?
really? You got a line on you, like you talk to Allah? Like, that's my answer, you know? On the day when I have to stand before my Lord, I'm not going to be looking over my shoulder like, well, you know, this person said, no. You know, I have to answer for what I choose to do. And if I choose not to tell a story because of intimidation or peer pressure or whatever, that's something I have to answer to my creator for.
Wow. I feel like this has been a counseling session for me.
Storytelling.
Because, yeah.
Honestly, I really wanted to get this one point across, is that, you know, just trust your, like, everyone has their own relationship with their creator. You know what your purpose is. If you sit still and you listen and you trust, just trust, you know, and don't let the interference of other people. You know, one time, a long time ago, when I first started on Twitter, somebody tweeted, ignore everybody. And ever since then, that has stuck in my mind. It's ignore everybody, because they aren't the ones who are, you don't answer to these people. And if the story requires for you to bear something that's ugly, then you have to listen to it.
Yeah. And the other thing, I guess, is also because inherently we're connected to the people we're surrounded by, whether it's family, friends, or, you know, how do you become an individual without having those ties? Like, because you doing something is connected to who you're related to and who you're with, who your friends are, who your family is.
Yeah.
How do you just become an individual for once and kind of like just do things that is for you without the baggage of having to kind of carry everyone else kind of together, if that makes sense?
Well, when you figure that out, you let me know, because I don't think I have the answer to that one. I don't think I have the answer to that one. No, because we're all connected, you know, and I'm very much connected to my family. I miss my family terribly. Ever since I left Baltimore, I've missed them. I wish I could just put them all in a giant house and ship them here to the West Coast, and then we could all live happily ever after. But thank God for technology. So, you know, I annoy them on WhatsApp. We have the longest thread. Like, I created, yes, and I video chat everybody, and they're like, so to answer your question, I have no idea. But
has there been a moment where they've questioned your choices in terms of stories? Or
of course, there's always someone who's questioned, and sometimes they don't tell you. But here's the thing: if they love you, if they trust that you're doing what you know in your heart you were meant to do, they will support you. And even when it's a little scary, because my mom is my biggest supporter, and it's pretty scary sending your kid halfway across the country saying, yeah, sure, go.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta just decide whether or not that hive mentality is healthy for this particular story that you're trying to tell, because sometimes it is supportive, community is supportive, but sometimes it's not, because if there are secrets or painful moments or dark things that the community doesn't like to share, of course you're going to get pushback. But you have to just do what you think is the best thing and trust your creator. That's that. Like I said, I don't have any answers except for that.
Yeah. And so would you say that after all these years of being in the film industry and, you know, telling your stories, have you at some point felt, you know, obviously as an individual and as a creative, you want to tell those stories that matter, and at the same time you want to be able to represent your community. So do you ever feel that clash, and how do you just deal with it, I guess?
So let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
The trap, it's about a Black Muslim woman who becomes a drug kingpin in Baltimore, despite her Muslim community, despite her father being the imam, the leader of the
Mm-hmm.
community. And it's inspired by true events. It's inspired by so many things that I've witnessed. And when I shot the web series version of it,
Mm-hmm.
the community saw what I created and they knew that it was authentic. They watched it and they told me, and the feedback, the audience was very much engaged, even though it was not, quote unquote, you know, our best light. Your
Mm-hmm.
audience will let you know. If they
Yeah.
resonate with a story, they will let you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so this film that is your passion project and has been since 2005.
Yeah.
Um, so where are you at with that? Like, so you've got a full script written.
Yes. I've even had famous actors attached to it. So
Right.
just as a side note, this industry is really difficult. And that in and of itself is just a whole nother web conversation, you know, especially for Muslim people.
Mm-hmm.
And my answer to that is that we just need to do it ourselves. We can't
Mm-hmm.
rely on outside um, interference
Yeah.
dressed as support, as we've already seen with the controversy that's going on right now. The difficult thing is the money. You have
Right.
to find the money in order to create these projects because it's not a solo art. If
Yeah.
filmmaking is not something you do by yourself, you
Yeah.
have to hire crew, and you have to have the right crew, and you have to have the right cast.
Mm-hmm.
And when all of those things are aligned and you have the money, then you can create it. And that's not even like, that's the first hurdle. Then once
Mm-hmm.
you shoot it, then that's, so there's so many different stages. And
Yeah.
so when you finally see an end product of something that was shot and completed and edited and it's done, that is a celebration. That is an accomplishment of the hard work of a team of people, so many people behind the scenes, in front
Yeah.
of the camera, behind the camera, their pockets, they came out of their pockets with money. So
Mm-hmm.
it's something that takes a long process, and it's something that's, it's a community art.
Yeah.
So if you do come across something that's Muslim centric, support it. It took a
Mm-hmm.
lot of work to get that made. Even if you don't like the story, even if
Yeah.
you think, hey, I don't connect with that, but hey, look at all the work that they put into it. Look at how much, how many jobs were created out of this project, you know? And then look
Mm-hmm.
at the conversations that come from this story that was created. Look at how many
Mm-hmm.
people are coming together and talking about their similarities and their differences and how we can connect to make the world a better place. So
Yeah.
that's what's important. And if we as a community don't support that, then those stories won't get made. We won't see film and TV that's reflective of a true, authentic Muslim story.
Yeah.
So this is my call to the Muslim community to support art and storytelling from Muslims, Muslim women, Black Muslim women, you know, from all Muslim people all over the world, especially us, because, you know.
Yes. Yes, you've said so many, I think, profound things throughout this chat. I feel like I'm gonna have to go back and watch again and like take notes and write down. But one thing I quickly wrote down right now, which just gave me, like, my mind was blown. You said interference dressed as support. Like, I just, I mean, that just, it's crazy how, you know, we sometimes think that what we're receiving is support, but it's actually not. And and it's true. I think ultimately we have to take our stories and stand up for it and go all the way through and not wait for others to make it happen for us.
Absolutely. Even if
And
you're the one lonely Black girl who nobody really listens to, just keep
mhm,
pushing, you know. The the other quote that pops up in my head all the time, because I'm a hip hop head, is, you know, what Jay-Z said. The genius thing is that he never gave up. So what if we never gave up? Like, how
mhm,
many Black girls out there, how many Black Muslim girls out there want to do what it is that I'm doing, but they may not think they can until they see that I'm actually doing it. And believe me, y'all, it ain't fun right now. It's hard work. It's hard work, but it's possible. And you just
mhm,
can't give up. It's hard, but you just
mhm,
can't give up. And
mhm,
you surround yourself with the people who get that. And you
mhm,
and you pour your love and your support into the people who understand that it's bigger than just one individual. It's bigger than
mhm.
just one group of people, even, you know, because we want to make, like I said, we want to make the world a better place. And sometimes you gotta get down in the dirt and do
Yeah.
it.
And how do we overcome that fear of failure?
Oh my
Because
God, tell me that secret. Because I mean, I face that every day. Fear of failure. You just got to do it scared. You just got to do it scared, y'all. You just got to do it scared. And it's not like I'm not scared. I really want you to understand. It's not easy, but it's worth it. The fulfillment that you get from putting your heart and your soul into something that you believe in, it's worth it. And the people around you are doing the same thing. You all are doing the same thing. You're on the same path.
Mhm. And I loved what you said to me yesterday as well, is that with regards to this medium of storytelling, that's how Allah teaches us as
That's
well in
right.
the Quran. Do you want to share a bit about that perspective?
Yeah,
How
you
did you
know,
like,
we talked
yeah, I
about it
thought it was
yesterday.
interesting.
Was it yesterday? And we were like,
Yes,
hey,
yesterday.
we should have recorded this. But
Yeah.
you know, the Muslim community needs to understand that that's the way that Allah teaches us about ourselves, is through storytelling. When I was a kid, and I want to give a shout out to my mom again, because if it wasn't for her making me read Quran every Ramadan, I wouldn't know what's in the Quran. You know, I read those stories before I even realized what I was reading. You know, when you're a kid, and I gotta sit down and read Quran. But eventually, you know, when you're not 8 anymore and you've
Mhm.
read this ayah and you've read this surah, and you're like, oh wow, I understand now. You know, all the stories about the people before us and the trials and tribulations that they experienced, we learn from that. And if you as a Muslim cannot recognize the importance of storytelling, then you need to go back to the Quran to refresh your memory.
Mhm. Oh my God, snapping my fingers to that, because a lot of times, you know, art storytelling is seen as something that's unnecessary
Right.
and below like the lawyer, engineers, all the other like careers that are so held highly in our communities. So I love how you sort of connected this profession with the source of our religion, which is the
Yeah.
Quran. And it's
It's how
beautiful.
we make meaning of things. It's when you share with your best friend something you just experienced that is so awesome. You celebrate and you feel so good together, and then you take that energy and then you spread it, and it's like,
Mhm.
oh my gosh, if she can do this and feel this way, what about me? Let me see if I can do it, you know. And then it's infectious, and you spread that. And even if you're sitting down and you're sharing something that's hard to share, like a dark, something negative that you experienced, even that is something good, because not only are you being heard and validated, and your experience is accepted as real, but you also are in the presence of someone who loves you and is letting you know, I see you, I recognize what you're saying, even though I might not have experienced that, but it's real, and I value you. Thank you for sharing that. You are valuable. And even from that story, healing happens, as experienced with watching shows like I May Destroy You.
I need to get onto that because we just recently got it in Australia. It wasn't available.
Oh,
So
good. So yeah, you
yeah.
should. It's very, very well done. And as a writer, I see so many beautiful things. As a director, I see so many beautiful things. And as an audience member, I see so many beautiful things. The music is amazing, how she connects the music to the storytelling and these experiences that she has, and how she shares them with her friends, and the importance of friendship, and how she makes meaning of her experience where she is sexually assaulted, but through sharing that experience with her friends, she synthesizes that and she comes out of it a different person, and so do her friends. And even in the finale, one of the characters says, you know, thinking back to an experience that I had, reflecting on what happened to you, I think I need to talk to somebody about that. But that happens in real life, you know. So the importance of storytelling goes far deeper than just making money. And as somebody who's anti-capitalist, I'm just going to say that.
It's true. And I think in this industry, you can get caught up in the whole hype and the whole like bedazzle of, you know, this deal and that deal and this much money and that budget. And sometimes you can lose focus because you started out because you had something to share, something very important and unique to share. But then somewhere along the line, you just lost that. And I think it's really important to also, something that I personally use myself before every project, before I start my meetings, I try and remind myself of the first hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is about checking your intentions.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I try to do that as much as possible because, you know, I need to make sure that I'm not doing something for the wrong reasons, because it's so easy to get caught up in all the possible opportunities that are dressed as, that are
Support.
interfering.
Interference dressed as support. Yes.
Yeah.
I say Bismillah before everything.
Yeah. It's been such a delight, Nia.
I'm glad. Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you were able to make it despite obviously what's happening in your family with your uncle, and we're gonna keep making dua, inshallah, for
Thank you.
you
I
and your
appreciate
family.
it.
And yeah, if you want to share any final thoughts, whether it's about your festival or even about, I guess, you know, just tying back into the whole topic of racism within the Muslim community, that would be great.
Yes. If we don't connect within our own communities, divide and conquer. And I think I mentioned this on our conversation before. Racism in the Muslim community is just an extension of white supremacy and quote unquote mono minorities trying to keep Black people in line. And it's ridiculous. Stop.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much. And if anyone, if you, whoever's watching, if you'd like to follow Nia and her work and the festival, I'll be sharing all of the links as part of this live once I share it onto my IGTV. Please follow the festival, follow Nia, support all of our works, and yeah, just keep I guess just keep going if you're in this industry, whether it's in film or any other creative industry where you're involved in telling stories. I guess, yeah, just keep going, and remember to always hold on to your truth, because that's what our strength is.
Yes. So just so everyone knows, our regular deadline for submitting to BMG Fly Film Festival is my birthday every year, September 20th.
Yes,
And
and wish her a happy birthday on the September 20th, guys.
inshallah. And
Inshallah.
that's the first deadline. You can find out more. Our final deadline is in November, so there's time. We also have fee waivers, so if you have difficulty submitting your film, just email us and find out more about fee waivers. But go to filmfreeway.com/BMGFlyFest. So that stands for Black Muslim Girl Fly Fest.
Yeah.
And you can submit short films, web series, screenplays, feature films, animation, musicals. We had a musical our first year. Believe it or not, my first
Wow.
ever Black Muslim girl starring in a musical. And if
That's
you want to watch
amazing.
that, go to our website, bmgflyfest.bhx.tv, and you can watch it. It's really cool.
I'll
So
definitely share all of these links into my story and as part of the description of this video. So check them out. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to seeing the films this year. So we'll all be able to watch from anywhere in the
yes.
world.
So if you go to filmfreeway.com/BMGFlyFest, you'll find out more information about the festival. But follow us on social media so that you can get links to buy your tickets.
Yeah.
Tickets will be going on sale soon through seedandspark.com. And if you have any other questions, just feel free to send an email to audaz.entertainment, audaz.entertainment@gmail.com.
Excellent.
Hey,
And
Christina. So Christina's one of the women I mentioned who helped. She's on the live. Hey,
hey,
the first
Christina.
year. If it wasn't for Christina, we wouldn't exist. So
Yes, you gotta, like, the supporters are key in everything you do, and that's something I can testify to as well with things that I've done. So shout out to all those people who are there for us,
yes,
consistently, physically, like emotionally, all the support. That makes a huge difference. So, yay, Christina! Shout out to you from us all as well. Thank you so
before I
much.
go,
Yeah.
I do want to say that last year we honored a trailblazer. It was our first time honoring a trailblazer in the industry. She created something called the JTC list. Her name is Cheryl Bedford. She is amazing. And she
Yeah.
created the Women of Color Unite group. And
Okay.
they're doing awesome things, making headway in the industry for women of color. And I want to tell everybody to follow them at WOC Unite. And this year, I'm putting it out there that we would like to honor a special person who's also blazing the trail in the community. And I want to hear from you all, the audience,
Yeah.
who we should recognize as a trailblazer. I know who I would like to honor, but I want to hear from you. So please do let us know in our in social media.
So it's WOC Unite.
Yes.
Is that the Instagram at, or is that
Yes,
the?
it's on social
Okay.
media as
Okay.
WOC Unite. Yes.
Okay. Great. I'll definitely share that as well, inshallah. Well, that
Alrighty,
brings us
thank you
to
so
the
much.
end of the chat. Thank you so much, Nia, and
I appreciate you.
I appreciate you coming on and giving us so much that you've shared with us. I guess something that we'll take on moving forward, and we're really looking forward to the festival and seeing more of your work, and inshallah that film very soon
Yes.
that you've been
Yes.
working on.
The Trap next
The
year. I'm putting it out
yes.
there.
Inshallah.
All right,
2021.
inshallah.
Is it September 20th as well on your birthday?
No, actually, no.
No, okay.
No, because every year it's the film festival. But no, in
Yeah,
October.
okay, true.
So I've
Yeah.
made dua that we shoot The Trap, the feature film, October 2021. That's my goal. And with the audience, I know it can happen. With Allah's help, it can happen.
Inshallah. Inshallah. Thank you so much, Nia, and thank you to everyone who's been joining and engaging with us. I hope you guys took a lot from this conversation like I have.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, once again, do check out the links that I'll be sharing, and share this live as well with your friends, family, industry acquaintances, everyone. And I'll
Everybody have a
see.
blessed evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Neil. See you soon. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum. Wa alaikum salam.
Welcome, Sam. See you guys.